Hello, hello, hello.
Hi everyone, it's Archeia Rose,
And I'm Archeia Passion, although I might be a bit of a croaky Archeia Passion today, so do forgive me.
and is this our second or our third podcast?
Third.
This is our third podcast, and we're doing it all about relationships. Have we got a title, Archeia Passion?
Definitely romantic relationships because there's we're going to do quite a few podcasts on different types of relationships, but this one is definitely of the romantic variety. Basically because
Awesome.
it's the month of February, it's Valentine's Day, but also your relationship is such a massive part of your life if you are in one. And if you're not in one, you have the indulgence to sort of focus on yourself, which is amazing. So the relationships can be so can influence your general well-being, for and against. So we really wanted to put this information out there because it's incredibly powerful. This information has helped divorcing couples stay together. It's helped people completely transform how they operate within their relationship, and where it was literally heading on a road to nowhere, now they've been able to sort of really come back, reroute and reinvent their relationship unrecognizably. Excuse me. Um, so we wanted to put this guide together. We're going to tie it in with a post we are making as well. So this is really there for you to use and enjoy, and and come back to us on it. And maybe we can even do a live stream at some point on it to
Um,
have the opportunity to take your questions and really answer them sort of live. So are you ready?
First thing I just want to jump in and say before we go for it is that like everything external is a reflection of us, right? So when you have a relation, even with a relationship with anyone, like your family, they are your biggest mirrors. So all the issues is always going to be, you agree, right? That it's
Yeah,
always like something to process. So
always something to
that's
learn.
why it's
Yeah.
really important to realize that relationships aren't just fantasy as well. They're not just like happy clappy, like rainbow and clouds and like they can be amazing. Obviously, that's what you want, but the triggers are treasures, aren't they?
Absolutely. Right. So, number one on our little guide is be happy being single.
Oh yeah, this is a good one.
Really good.
And you had a long period of being single. I've been single for 2 years now, and like when I first became single, I absolutely loved it. It was like this absolute growth of like I'm going to do things by myself.
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. I had my relationship history sort of I started off in a 9 year relationship, then went to a
Wow.
interesting 4 year relationship, then 2 years, then 4 months, and I was like, this is just going in the wrong direction. I was like, I'm done, I'm done. I'm going to be single because actually I'm so happy, I'm so emotionally stable being single. I am my own, I can come and go at my whim, do what I want when I want, see who I want when I want. It was amazing.
Yeah,
And I would look
refreshing.
at my friends who are in these relationships and they were so stressed out and so in emotional turmoil. And I was like, oh man, I can't even hack talking, listening to you going on about this because it's just horrid. And I wasn't even in that relationship. So it's a
Yeah.
biggie.
Well,
Relationships can't heal you. You can't go into a relationship broken and expect to get fixed within it. Your healing work is always going to be your work, and actually it's so much better to become the whole circle, and then meet up with somebody who is hopefully also a whole circle, and that is when you can really have an amazing relationship. If you're trying to, it's the same thing for kind of like couples to stay together, go, let's have a baby, or have no.
get
Back
married,
off.
that would do it. Yeah.
Absolutely
Cool,
not.
cool.
So that's the first one. Be happy being single. Go find people and things you can connect with. Find what makes what makes you happy. Find your passions. And you know what? You'll probably meet someone doing that. And then you've got these shared interests and, hopefully you're going in, same sort of direction in life generally. And maybe that's going to be much better. Do not try and get into a relationship because you're bored. Going in for the wrong reasons is really bad. We're going to come to that in a minute. So number two, okay, Rose.
Be able to respect yourself, which is awesome, isn't it? Really, I think so. What I found in the past with my relationships was that I valued the person more than I valued myself. So I would give them everything. I'd give them all my energy, my money. I'd feed them. And
This
then there would
time,
be nothing left for me.
I found I was trying to prove so much that I was a really good partner to be with,
Yeah,
and girlfriend or
exactly.
whatever. And
You're like the best couple ever, aren't you? Like you've fallen in love and
it's
like
like,
you're a power couple. Yeah, it's a load
I
of
was like, I'm
crap.
an awesome partner, you know. I'll really, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was ridiculous, and people were looking at me like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why are you trying so hard? There must be something wrong with you, which I can't see, which makes me not trust you." And I think I used to give off this really weird air of just almost desperation. I wasn't desperate to be with somebody, but when I was in a relationship, I gave it 110%,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Sure.
it never worked. And so, ironically, it was the relationship that I went in after I'd really found my self respect, after I'd had a few bad relationships, and I was going, you know, I don't deserve that. So I'd read this book, true story, I'd read this book by called Get the Guy by Matthew Williamson, bless him. And it was an amazing book because I love psychology. I'm really into that. It's kind of a bit of a hobby of mine on the side. And I was reading
Classic
this book.
Arcturian.
Ah,
The Arcturians, you're all obsessed with like psychology and
oh.
like knowing that's just funny.
And basically, I was reading this book and I was like, oh my goodness, I've done everything wrong. And so, bless the next, I thought, right, the next guy I sort of start dating or whatever, he's going to get it. He's going to get the new me. And I obviously must have done something right because I married him. So, and
Oh,
we are in
really?
this amazing relationship, you know, and it takes work and commitment. But again, we're going to talk about some points today that is I can happily say I use to keep my relationship good. So, going back to our little list, we have.
So I just want to interject and say that so for me, so the universe will keep on bringing you the same lesson until you've learned it or until you've healed it, and it often feels like a punishment. You feel like, why am I still attracting the same toxic partner? And and the thing that we do, which is great, we recognize the red flags and we go, oh no, he's no good for us. Quick, move on to the next. But then you're attracting another toxic partner, and it's because you didn't actually address the lesson. You were great because you saw the red flag and you were like,
Right.
yeah, he's not healthy.
Yeah.
But you didn't look at why you attracted the unhealthy person. And is it because you don't set boundaries, because you need more self-love, you know? So the universe is never against us. It loves us and it wants us to evolve, you know?
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really interesting because
I
that
think.
happened to me for years.
God bless you. I had a relationship where this guy seemed so lovely on the surface and stuff, but he would almost mentally torture me with these comments, like in front of his mum. So if he ever listens to this, yeah, you know you are. He was like, he came in and he said to me, "I'll go to go to the little Marks and Spencer and get some nice little nibbles and bits and pieces." So I did that on my way over, and then
Yeah.
I managed to get there before him, and I had keys to his place. So I've gone in there and I've like lit some candles and stuff. Just it was quite a new relationship. I think we'd been together about 3 months by that stage. And I was like, oh, making it nice and homely, whatever. He comes in, his mum calls him, and then he says something to her like, "Yeah, Nick's here. She's put candles on. It's all lovely. Yeah, and she's got some bits from M&S, and yeah, she's totally redeemed herself." And I was looking at him like right in front of me, so
Oh,
in front of me, and I'm going, "Redeem myself? What for? What have I done?" Like, and my whole head, the whole time would be like, when I wasn't with him, I'd be like, why did he say that? What did he mean? Blah, blah, blah. And now, you know what? Actually, that traumatized me, that relationship. Thank God it ended a month later. And it
it's just
traumatized me for
it's
years.
literally a word, isn't it? Like a word like that. It's so clever. Just one
That's
word
the
can
thing.
like completely screw you over,
Yeah.
right?
And it did until I realized he was my angel in showing me, do not put up with something that is beneath. You don't deserve this, so why are you putting up with it? So
Yeah.
if you get to follow my material, if you've been on the site and read my stuff, and so you'll hopefully recognize a phrase of mine that says, everyone is your angel. Everyone is creating a scenario for you to be your best self, and sometimes that's to say, this is not good enough for me, I'm out. So that's, yeah, a little anecdote on that
Definitely.
point. What's
Right,
next?
what's the
Right.
next one?
Go in for the right reasons. Relationships amplify you, good and bad. It's not about, oh yeah, I'm getting I just want to snuggle up to somebody on the sofa and nights, or, I'm lonely. You do not go into, we do this all the time. We go into a relationship because of what we can get out of it. Go into a
Right.
relationship because of what you can give to someone, which is probably
Okay.
the biggest thing that people are like, what do you mean? Because think of it this way, if you want to receive something, you give it.
That's true. I think that's an interesting point because so I shouldn't put people in boxes, but I feel that there's like the givers of the world and the ones that don't give as much. So say like me and you, we are givers. So, sorry, everyone, I'm saying we are givers, but so we probably would naturally want to give, wouldn't we? Whereas a lot of people wouldn't do that. They probably just
They're in it for what
expect.
they can get, bless them.
Yeah, which is a lot of, it's the dysfunction of what a lot of humans have, and that's
and
fine,
it
but we're
and it
transforming
doesn't
that.
end well. You might manage to carry on in that pathway for a while. It doesn't end well. You'll have to reevaluate it at one point. But anyway,
It's
so
the
we've
flip,
got
isn't it? It's the flip that the givers actually, in the long run, the more you give, the more you get back. I think you've talked about
absolutely,
this before. And then if you
absolutely,
are a taker, you may feel like you are consuming and you're getting a lot of other people's energy. But at the end of the day, you have taken already and the givers haven't received. So
and you
it's
know
really
what?
interesting that.
People wise up and they go, you know what? You're just a taker. See you later.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they're gone, and that's when you go, oh, and it's too late. It's too late by then. So
I
right.
also feel, I'm just going to quickly note that in these times of the ascension and kind of giving, at the moment, the universe really does clock. The more that you give, the more kindness and the more love you give, it doesn't go unnoticed. It's not just random, right? It is kind of, we are in this massive play that all of creation is watching. So don't be afraid to be a giver. You're not a loser. You're not a wimp who just like does things. It's a
Absolutely.
really powerful thing to just be love.
Absolutely. Right. Next one is relationship values. What are they? So, this is a really great exercise. If you are sort of in that place where you are like considering you want to go into another relationship, or you're trying to heal from one, and you keep saying things like, I keep attracting the wrong people, or this is really, really useful exercise to do, because I'm really happy to say that for me and my husband, I I did an NLP course and it covered on this exercise, and it's basically saying, what do you want in a relationship? So you start off by saying, oh, I want fun and adventure and an excitement and common ground and whatever. And this goes on and on and on. And you write all these sort of elements down on a piece of paper, and then you'll kind of dry up, you'll hit a wall and keep going. You want to hit that wall at least 4 times. And
Wow.
sometimes it takes until you've hit that wall for the third time for you to find the one that is actually your biggest value in the relationship. So you keep going and you'll say, right, for example, mine, I needed someone to be fun. I needed someone to be open-minded. I'm not your conventional chick, what I'm into. And some people are so anti it, and I've been aware of people in relationships where their other halves are like, that's a load of rubbish. And I was like, I need
Yeah.
to be with someone at least open-minded, at least who's not going to, if they're not into it, that's fine, but don't criticize me for being interested in these sorts of things. So fun, open-minded. What are my other ones? Kind-hearted was a big one. They had to be kind-hearted. They had to be a good dad. I needed to look at somebody and think, at least think, I think you'd make a great dad.
Yeah.
What
Nice.
was my other one? Another one. Anyway, so it's funny because we're getting the confirms anyway, Jen. Even though I've tried to put my phone on silent, we're still getting pings.
Yeah, you're getting the dings. The angels are like, yes to that one, yes to that. They're confirming what Paul is. He's an
And this is
angel.
important for people to know. Find out what your relationship values are. So anyway, I've met my husband, bless him, and I actually call these now the deal breakers. And this is a bit of a good party trick if you're with your friends and you're sitting around the table and you're having a bit of a good, interesting chat about life. Say to people, what are your deal breakers? If you don't have these 5 things, your 5 top values in your relationship or in a prospective partner, do not expect it will work. Just, it won't.
I'm
It
trying
won't.
to trying to see if I can remember mine. I know mine is like it's similar to yours. It's someone who's unconventional because I can't do the normal. Someone who's funny,
Yeah.
someone who's very kind.
Yeah.
That's only 3.
Yeah. You'll find more.
Next time I'll have my 5.
And I remember things like fun. What's lovely is that Paul and I can have fun. I mean, we've been so skinned at some times, you know, in our life, but we still can have fun. We can have fun just watching TV together. We can have fun doing things that take no effort and no money, which when you're in a relationship, let's face it, you don't want to be like, this relationship only works because there's money or because there's thrill or because there's, you know, that is really ding, ding, ding.
Yay!
Loving this. 33. I know this is an advert,
Nice.
and we are actually on the 2222 portal, and soon it will be 222. Well, in about an hour, but anyway.
Yeah,
So
cool.
relationship values, do them when you've got a list of like 80 things down on your piece of paper. Go, right, you can have one. Go through the whole list. What is the one? Would you have one or number two? And you go, oh, I'd have number one. Okay. Would you have number one or number three? Yeah, I'd have number one. Would you have number one or number four? Oh, maybe I'd have number
Yeah.
four. Right. Would you have number four or number five? And you basically do that until you have your top five, and really get to know them, because they are the secrets to your relationship success. When you find somebody that has all of those and you have all of theirs, I mean, this really is like a bit of a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
Which
nice.
brings me to our next point, which is head v heart. Make a good
I
choice.
was I'm just going to jump in before you
Yeah.
move on. I think it's really nice to think about all the different elements like fused together, like the fusion of the different, you know, like a bit funny, a bit cheeky, but like how they all work to make a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really nice, the overall picture of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to the next one.
Yeah. So the next one
Ding.
is head v heart. The angels are loving this. Head v heart. Make a good choice. Don't ignore red flags. Now, I have personally coached lots of people, some of my friends and family, where they were, you know, when you in the new stage of a relationship, which I used to be addicted to. I used to love it, you know, when you fancy someone. This is going back to school days. Just you two. Sorry, I've got my little dogs playing. um
Uh,
they are, you know, that time is all the excitement and it's new and you're in fantasy and you daydream about them, you know, for hours on end.
I
We didn't have mobile phones when I was growing up. I'm sort of showing my age here, but you know, and it was just wonderful, and the life that flowed through you, this energy about it was amazing. So then you kind of see somebody, and you're so wanting to get into this wonderful new relationship, and this could this be the one? You actually
yeah,
ignore red flag, and the amount of people who got married and they went afterwards, I knew I shouldn't have married them. Why did you? They couldn't face calling it off. Oh my goodness! But the trauma and the misery that came down at the end of the road, you know, was it
yeah.
really worth it? Be better to call it off when you kind of no. So if you get your red flags, and I actually say this has been true for me and many people I've spoke to. You see the reason why you stay or leave within the first 3 weeks. Sometimes
Yeah,
longer,
yeah.
like you mentioned today, didn't you? Saying about 3 months. This guy changed.
Yeah, me and this guy, we fell in. I also want to say that the first, the first 2, 3 months of your relationship are also completely unrealistic. It's not love, even though you start being like, "Oh my God, I love you," because it's not. The love comes after that stuff's gone. You know, that's lust. That's like anxiety. That's like all the chemicals going crazy. So when everything dies off and everyone thinks, "Oh, we're that," it's the norm kicking in, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's real
Honeymoon
life.
period's over.
Yeah, I never get anything done within the first 6 weeks of a relationship. I'm just like so full of excitement, and you know, just that's when I lose myself, basically.
So, the don't ignore the red flags. Your head versus your heart. So, like, use your head, because what I noticed is, even though this is about heart and about being in the heart, your head is giving you your ego, when used in the right way. Can say, if you're looking for a future co-parent, if you're looking for a future husband wife, if you're looking for a future soulmate, you know, go in it with your kind of wits about you. Don't ignore things that will end up being the downfall of the relationship, because your heart will fall in love with anything that your brain kind of says that's a good thing. Your heart is like, yes, let me love it, you know.
Yeah,
It doesn't work the other way
definitely.
around. It doesn't work the other way around. Use your head, check it, and actually, even 2 years into a relationship, that's when I think you'll start to see the truth. And
Yeah,
know
I
that
agree.
choose wisely, because it gets tougher. The longer you're together, the more, if you start to have children, whoa, that was such a
Yeah,
shock to
that's
me.
a test, isn't it?
That takes away, that strips your relationship down to its bare bones. If you can't, ding, 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 if you can't, if you can't survive that when you are exhausted, feel awful, sleepless nights from children, sick kids, all of these things, having to get up and go to work, having to, still operate the household. Sometimes, Paul and I are actually, we're on our own. We don't have any family around us. They're all abroad. So we've really felt the acuteness of being, our whole support network is each other. And it really puts a strain on relationships. And if you go into a relationship with those hopes and ambitions with somebody that you think, you've got these warning flags, I mean, it's just, yeah, it can be a little bit of an issue. So anything else you want to say on that before we move on?
No, I'm all good. What's
Cool.
the next one?
Next one is a good one. Now, this is probably something that most people haven't heard about, but as soon as you hear it, you'll kind of go, yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? And it's put the relationship first. And when I first heard this, I was like, what? What do they mean? And it says, put it above your children. What? No, no, the kids have got to come first, surely. Uh-uh.
Right.
This is because a romantic relationship will fill you up like nothing else will. Your children will fill you up like nothing else will, but they're very different. The goal of a successful parent is to show your children what true love, what good love feels like, and the work and the maintenance that is needed to keep that on form. So no matter what, if you're tired, if you're stressed, if you make quality time for your romantic partner, no matter what, you are showing the children that this is not about now you've got them, sit back and, they just have to cope with what they, pulled out the bag. This is about saying relationships take constant, ongoing commitment. And then when I read that, that for me was putting your children first and putting the relationship first at the same time. So the best time to apply this principle is if you're having an argument, if you are disagreeing about anything, if you're feeling a little bit about something, just say two things. What would love do now? And put what action would put the relationship first? And this
Yeah,
stops
no.
it being unbalanced, doesn't it? Because like you and I have both said, we, would go into relationships in the past and we just throw everything at it. Hang on a
Yeah,
minute. It
no
hasn't
balance.
warranted that yet. And it stops people putting all the emphasis on, the other person, and the other person go, yeah, it's fine. She can carry on doing that because she's obviously happy. So I'll carry on taking it. It keeps the
Yeah.
balance.
I think it's really interesting as well, like if you're having an argument, to use that question, what would love do? And actually, in these times, choosing to be the bigger person, to forgive, to just not say if you want to be right and you're not, just it has also a ripple effect for everyone, just like it's just going back to love, isn't it? That's what we all need to aim for. And it's the balance also.
And this is what's really powerful about it. When children see abusive relationships, they grow up going, that is what love is. That's
Yeah,
what a
exactly.
relationship is. And absolutely not. They passively learn. Like, one thing that I'm really working on is, and I've said this on other podcasts, is that for me, my dad, bless him, my stepdad, he had a bit of a quick temper. And when I did something like hurt myself, I remember getting bullied once, and I came home crying, and my dad was so upset for me, it turned to anger at me for tolerating somebody treating me like that. I didn't understand that. He basically told me to go out and fight them. And I was a mouse. I mean, I was tall. I was a tall kid for my age, but I was an absolute pussycat. I mean, it was horrible for me, and I felt, I don't know, it just was quite traumatic. So it's kind of important to realize that when you are in a relationship and there are children involved, or even other people involved, other people that watch you in this relationship, you can
Yeah,
heal and show what love can be to others
yeah, definitely.
ongoing.
100%.
Alrighty, next one, and I love this one. I really do. It says, aim for true communication. It's amazing how we
Yeah.
do not communicate properly, openly, and honestly with a partner because we don't offend them. We don't want to say, "You're driving me crazy." We don't want to say, "I think you're being really selfish." And I'm not
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
about being harsh, I'm talking about being honest, talking to
yeah,
each other like your best friends, because hopefully you would be, and saying, when you do this, it makes me feel that, which brings me on to sort of part two of this element, which is your emotions are the language of your soul, in a bit of a traffic light system, saying if you've got negative emotions, your soul is basically saying, please stop this line of thought. Please
yeah,
stop going down this route. This is not the way to success and happiness. You are not seeing the situation for its truth. Likewise, so emotions, it's like, you could do something better. You could see this in a better way. And when you're happy, the soul is basically saying, green light, keep going, because you're usually giving in that time, or forgiving, so
yeah.
still giving, and that's when the soul is going
Ding.
that's when the
I
soul
think
is
it's
going, yay, keep going.
communication.
Green
I
light.
think it's really important that I notice with myself that we, again, often it's the mind that like creates all the stress for us. What signpost? But like I'll create a reality or a situation in my head from people's behavior, from their body language, and it's not necessarily true. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And that can, like, by just speaking how you feel, you cut so many corners of what, misunderstandings and miscommunication, and a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety just comes better from just saying, well, I think you feel like this, and the person might be like, no, I never felt like that at all.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It makes
definitely.
sense, doesn't it?
Definitely. And it also takes the criticism out of something. Like when you can imagine saying to somebody, I feel X, when you do this, it stops them feeling criticized, and it starts basically them saying, um, oh, sorry, it stops them feeling criticized, and they can maybe see a solution to the problem by going, actually, she really feels like this when I do that, so maybe I'll show her that I'm actually not meaning to do this, and I'll do this instead. That was probably
Yeah, and
too
also
many.
that could be a little breakdown leading to a breakthrough, right? It's been a bit rough, but actually a beautiful thing comes from it, something lovely, because you addressed it.
Okay, next one is notice your weaknesses in the relationship and commit to working on them. So my husband is such a gentle person. He's so not in your face, and he's so the opposite of me in so many ways. And he enables me to grow in all sorts of ways. But he also enables me to get maybe a little bit domineering, a little bit cocky, a little bit, it's a brilliant platform for me to improve myself. And one thing I am grateful for is that when I am being unfair, unjust, unreasonable, I see it and I hear it. And
Yeah.
that combined with having the lack of pride to go, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I don't like myself when I'm like that, and I'm sorry. And I'm working on it, I think is a really good step, and it goes a long way into helping the other person tolerate you when you are being like that.
Yeah, 100%. And also, I just want to raise the point that what I feel, what you have with Paul is a real good divine feminine, divine masculine mix. So the divine feminine, we lead, and I do feel you do that. And then Paul is really good at holding space and holding that grounded energy for you, isn't he? He's there and he's taking care, and you're pushing forward. And that is how the roles are meant to be within relationships, within like leadership roles. The feminine are the ones that push forwards.
This is a
Thank you,
really
Paul,
interesting
for
topic, actually.
supporting
I'm
us.
I'm quite passionate about this. There's this whole amazing concept of feminine and masculine energy, and no matter what physical sex you are, you can be dominant in a physical or masculine energy. And there is this theory, and it kind of goes back to sort of like cavemen sort of thing, where the man is like the hunter gatherer, providing the food, providing the shelter, building the home, that sort of thing. And I'm not saying it has to be like that. What I'm saying is the energy of having a guy like that, and basically saying, this is my family, I will protect you. you know, and then having the woman as the nurturer, the woman who, you know, can look after or the feminine that can look after the, you know, the children or the running of the house or whatever it is. I can imagine a load of people are going to kind of scream at me for saying this, but what I have noticed, when those energies get flipped around, it doesn't work. You'll find, for example, or another way of maybe explaining it is, when women tend to get emotional, men tend to get more like distant. Whereas
Yeah,
if you then, let's say somebody picks an argument with you on something, and you kind of go into the whole calm, thinking, almost switching off, distant, you know, that will induce the other person to get more emotional. There's this
right.
left brain, right brain mix, and it often ties in with, you know, the feminine, masculine stuff. So I think actually that's kind of worth a different podcast on its own. It's really, really
All
interesting
right.
concept. So maybe we'll do a little bit on
So
that on another
so
stage.
naturally we have like, so the feminine have 51% feminine energy, 49% masculine, and then for the masculine they have 51% masculine energy and then 49 feminine. So it's just like this tiny, I don't know, I'll get the I'll post it, but it's really interesting, and you can check in to see where your percentages are with your angels to see if you're more in the masculine or if you're more in the feminine or if you're balanced. It's balanced harmonics basically, which I
Yeah.
think we're going to talk about, are we? Or
Yeah.
we've done that one.
I haven't got it in this. Again, maybe that's a good one to incorporate into a different podcast based on the sort of feminine, masculine energy. I'm sorry, I'm just closing a door. Do forgive me. Okay, so I think, are we ready to go on to number 8, the next one?
Yeah, go for it.
Right. I love this one because it's such an easy one to learn and remember, and it's such a quick fix. Need kills love. When you go into a relationship for the first time, you're often just giving, giving, giving. You're the most tolerant, you're the most accepting, you're the most, you know, forgiving. And then later on, you get familiar, and then you're like, oh, I really hate when he does this or she does that. It's driving me nuts. And then you start to need to control the situation, and you say, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Start getting familiar with need equaling sort of the opposite of love. It should be a free situation. It should be a, you know, where you don't feel trapped in a relationship. You should feel boosted in a relationship. I believe this is my opinion. You should feel like you help the other one grow, develop, and all the rest of it. So treat your partner as a free soul. If you try and tie them down in any way, if you're unhappy with the situation, that's not saying tolerate it. That's saying, I need to talk to you because this really isn't working for me and I need to do something about it. But what you're not doing is saying them, I need you to do this or else, because that can potentially kill off a relationship. So get really aware of that.
It's also looking at love from an unconditional aspect, isn't it? It's like, does your love come with conditions? Like, I only love you
Yeah.
because X, Y, and Z, or is it just because love is the truth? You know, we just love each other. Anyway, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you do. I still love you
And
unconditionally. I think that's important.
yeah, and that's also actually, you know, and the thing that springs to my mind when you mention that, rightly or wrongly, but it's worth mentioning, is that sometimes you can love someone too much, and that's often how domestic abuse cases are allowed to perpetuate for so long, because you can just be hopelessly in love with someone, which means you
Yeah,
tolerate far too much. And you don't stand up for yourself, which is where, you know, at our earlier points about having self-respect, having somebody who meets your relationship values before you meet them, determine them before you meet someone. Or if you're with
yeah.
somebody and you look at your relationship values and then you kind of compare it to who you're with and go, they don't have any of them. You know, it's a real kind of smell the coffee and decide what is best here, because people who stay in relationships that don't work, you're wasting time, you're wasting energy, and you're also teaching other people to what love isn't. And your biggest regret will be in staying in it for so long, I believe.
Definitely. And that brings me on to, I think we'll do it next time, but I think we should discuss karmic soulmates, twin flames.
Mm.
Relationships in 5D are going to be a lot different than relationships in 3D.
Yeah.
Also, sex is going to be very different in 5D because at the moment, sex is we don't know it because we've never been taught it, but when you have sexual intercourse with someone, you're exchanging energy with each other, and it's a lot of energy taking. Like if you're a giver, you're just going to give your power away, and also you take on the other person's trauma because you are doing like, I don't know, like a real intense energy exchange. So you take on so much of what they're dealing with. And in 5D, it won't be like that. It will be two sovereign beings who are healed, coming together to create something different. Sex is very 3D in the sense that it is quite the lower, but it can still be divine. But anyway, we'll talk about that next time. But I also just want to quickly touch on the karmic thing, saying that you were saying about how people not wanting to leave relationships. And I think it's so important to understand that with a karmic partner, they will come along and it might only be, or a soulmate, it might only be for a short period. And you will know when it's meant to end because the energy won't be flowing anymore. Like you've been talking about, it will feel stagnant and it will feel horrible and you won't be able to kind of move on. And it's just the universe showing you've done your contract with that person. They came, you learned so much and you had love, but you know, you're not going to be alone. I think that's a lot of why people stay, isn't it? Really, they're like,
They're
I've
afraid to
got
be
a
alone.
house. Yeah, they're afraid to be alone. They're like, I've got a house with them,
Yeah,
you know,
financial
like,
tide, yeah, kids.
yeah, we
But
create all these
actually,
belief systems, which are complete bullshit, really.
and not every relationship is meant to last forever. It really isn't. It's much more healthy for your children and for you involved to go, do you know what? We had an amazing 10 years, but actually now not feeling this in my heart anymore. I love you as a co-parent and as a friend, but I'm not in love with you anymore. But that again is, I think we're definitely going to do another podcast on sort of like divorce and how to know whether the right thing is divorce or not. So I will actually touch on this in a moment. Actually, it's the next it's the next point. Look at that, going beautifully into it. So aim to fulfill their six human needs to a 10. Now, if you haven't been onto our website and looked at six human needs, please do so. It's an incredible way to do a quick glance psychology analysis of people going through situations. I remember I was able to kind of coach a psychiatrist in their family situation, and you know, they'd done the whole 7 years studying on top of degrees and masters and all the rest of it, and I
Right.
had learnt this material very easily, very quickly. But I think I was quite a natural at it, and I was basically saying to them, you know, this. So okay, so the six human needs are for every human being. This is our blueprint, and we all meet these needs in different ways, but we all have the same needs, and they are: number one, certainty or security, and this is massive for women. And number two is variety, important for everyone. Number three is
Right.
significance or importance. How important do you feel to a situation? Or, you know,
Yeah.
if you're left with no one even notice, you know, that's what I'm talking about. Um, this is massive for guys. And number four, again, massive for everyone, is love stroke connection. These two are
Right.
kind of equating. And these four are the needs of the ego. The next two, which are growth and contribution to others, to outside of yourself, these are the needs of the soul. And if you go onto our website, you'll read all about sort of the meaning of life and stuff like that. So you really get an idea of these concepts. But these six things, you can analyze and unwrap a problem so fast just being aware of this. And the crazy eight, which is when you feel out of control, you know, you go into this crazy eight where you're feeling sad or you're feeling angry. And the solution is find out what your options are, get connection, and, you know, do something that matters. Forgive. That is doing something that matters, and your
Yeah.
crazy eight will disappear. So when we're in a relationship, we say, try and fill up your other person's needs to attend. Go, you know what? I've really not contributed enough to this relationship's well-being in the last week. I've been busy, I've been stressed, I've been tired, I've been ill, whatever. You know, how
Yeah.
about I do a nice surprise candlelit dinner? It's like, it doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't need to be, you know, have massive effort. It's just something to say to that person, I care about you, I care about us, and I care about maintaining this. So fill up their needs to a 10. This is also how you can decide if somebody is right to stay with and persevere with or leave. If you decide, well, it's crux time, it's stay or go,
Yeah.
Do a 90-day challenge. This is out there on the internet, and this is not a new thing. This is not a my thing. But you fill up that person's needs to a 10, no matter what. Because it takes one
It's not
person to transform
conditional.
a relationship. Sorry, love?
It's not like, oh, if I'm doing this, they should be doing that. You do it anyway, right? And then you just see if you get the same back in some way. Is that right?
There's a lovely expression for that. It's called whoring. It's like, I'll do this for you if you do something for me. I'll
Exactly.
whatever, if you pay me, is effectively whoring. And what you need
Yeah.
to do is saying, I love you. I want to contribute to your well-being. Um, I want you to feel significant to me in this family. I want you to feel connected. I want to do something I know you enjoy. I want to create variety and surprise and, interest. I want to say, you know what, you've worked really hard this week. Why don't you go with your buddies, like, at the weekend, and they'll
Yeah.
go, well, maybe it's our anniversary. You know what, don't worry, if you go and you do that, you put them first, you set them free. The
It's nice because it's like you're not being. I think so many people get into a relationship and you become lazy. You don't put the
Yes,
work in. But what you're saying is actually it's beautiful because you're still working on the relationship. And I'd like you to go
yourself
over
at
the
the same
points, or
time.
maybe write a post because the
Yeah,
vibration of those points when you were saying them and how they feel together is such. They're so empowering, aren't
yeah,
they?
it
And
is
so
absolutely.
strong.
And again, the kids are watching what you're doing. The kids will go, look at mum and dad, look at what they're doing, look at how much they're considering the other person. And they grow up and they go into a relationship with a taker, and they'll go, this is nothing like what my mum and dad look like. I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
And you save them heartache. You don't want to see anyone you love, your sisters, your brothers, your parents, and parents are getting divorced and finding new people. And, this is something that works in every direction: mums, dads, kids, siblings. So if you can be an example, if you can, it just means that people can maybe come to you when they're having difficulties. And how do you always seem to manage to know whether to come, go, stay, make something heal, help me with this? And you've got these
Yeah.
points to share. It's just so healing.
I just want to quickly touch
Ding.
on the love languages, which has always been, I think it's really helpful. So there's 5 love languages, and you have 2 ways. I'm not, that's just a belief system, but I think it is. You have 2 ways of receiving, and you have 2 ways of giving. So
Okay.
the 5 love languages are words of affirmation. So I love you, you're amazing, you're awesome. Acts of service, so like cleaning the house, washing the car, whatever. It's very 3D. um,
Giving
Quality
presents.
time,
Yeah.
just like going on dates, doing nice things, and physical touch and receiving gifts. So I know that my giving love is I love giving gifts. I love giving people presents, and I love like saying nice things. I'm not sure what my receiving language is.
Okay.
Probably physical touch and maybe words of affirmation, but I think it's really important to identify them because then you can tell your partner. So
Absolutely.
say if you like really like I have a friend and she is all about doing, she's a Virgo, she's very like on it and she's all about acts of service, but her partner would always buy her like chocolates or want to give her a cuddle, and she would never feel like he really loved her or understood her because that was not how she recognized love. So
Hmm.
it's really empowering to do that.
Find
Do you know
out
what yours are?
sorry.
You know what yours are, a care passion?
Oh, um, being allowed to have some free time. I'm sort of, my massive passion is horses, and being with 2 young kids, obviously that time's got really compromised, but just being able to have some time to myself actually is, for me, time to have a bath or time to just chill and have some me
Yeah,
time is actually really cool. And just a little bit of a occasional, love you, or an occasional you're doing good, or something like that. Yeah, I guess they're thinking affirmation.
affirmation.
Okay, I'm just aware of moving on because we might get kicked off of this recording soon.
Yeah.
Right. I think actually that is right. Winding up, I've kind of just got here. Be aligned in life goals. The kids like the traveling, for example. If you meet somebody and they want to go traveling and you want to settle down, have a family, you might not be too aligned with each other.
Yeah.
And familiarity breeds contempt. We relax and change, so don't expect people to say the same. you know, they'll go, oh, you've changed so much. Yeah, that's what happens, you know.
I know we're meant to grow. It's funny
Yeah,
when they say that, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And yeah, just, you know, if you feel like you are hitting a problem, sit down and talk to them like your best friend. Say, you know, I've got a problem in this area. Can you suggest anything we could do that could help it? And talk, implore, you know, this is your life partner, this is your best friend. You know, there is so much good that can come from you two working together. So yeah,
Definitely.
hopefully, I think we've covered a lot of really, really good material and points in this podcast. And you know, we'd love to listen to your feedback and your opinions. If you've got any questions, then please do let us know. Get in touch on the channel or through the website, and we would love to organise a live stream on this after this has been put out there, and people can sort of, you know, give us some feedback or have some questions. Maybe next week before Valentine's Day. Does that work for you?
Absolutely. It sounds awesome.
Awesome.
We'd love to do.
All
It's
right.
just about
Cool.
10, 14:04. I'm watching the clock. It's like
Ah.
14:03. Like, come on, there it is.
All right, amazing, amazing. Well, it is the 2-2 portal today, so we know you might be listening to this later. So we love you. We love you. We love you.
Yeah.
Basically.
Thank you for listening.
Speak next
Keep
time.
innovating.
Bye.